Yeah, I don't know where this jumped in, so we'll just kind of get into it. How's everybody doing? Photos in Tech 2023 live back at you. Uh, here again in the YouTube universe. And one thing you'll notice that we're not showing this year is going to be a lot of the plants that seem to get me in trouble with the YouTube. I do have a special guest again, supposed to be showing up. Zach from Niwa should be here anytime now. I'm not sure where he's at. I suspect he's running a few minutes behind. But that's okay. That is just fine. He'll get here when he gets here, and we'll start chatting with him. He's got a couple updates we want to talk to you guys about. Otherwise, I just wanted to kind of talk to you guys, bring up a few things. What's the big plan here? And look at that! Just like I summoned him in. We'll bring him in here right now. But yeah, no, got a couple things going on here this year. Definitely some new updates and whatnot. And of course, speaking of updates, we've just brought Zach in here from Niwa.
What's up, guys and girls?
Zach, how you doing, brother?
Sorry, just sprinted here from the gym, and so I'm always sprinting from somewhere.
Busy guy.
How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, man. Happy New Year. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How is everything in the Great White North?
Surprisingly not too cold. It's actually been pretty decent up here weather-wise, so certainly not as horrible as it could be, but definitely not as nice as it is where you guys are, I imagine. So
I have a weird question, and it's totally off topic.
By all means.
Because it's a Canadian film. Have you ever seen the movie Tusk?
Tusk, no, I'm familiar, but I haven't seen it. We have many great Canadian films up here, I'll have you know.
Okay, I think the Great White North is it just like triggered this memory. I'm like, I don't know if you like odd movies. I don't know if you're like a big movie buff, but I suggest I won't tell you what it's about because we kind of indoctrinate some of our friends with this movie. You'll see it and you'll message me. I'm looking forward to your response.
Right on. I will have to look into it a little more. I'm not sure if you're on the right microphone, Zach. You're sounding a little fuzzy, sir. So let me just double check your settings there. Otherwise, good to see you. It's been a minute. I know you guys got some exciting things happening over at Niwa there. Got a few exciting things out here. Oh, like 1,000 times better.
Yeah, it defaults to my camera mic, which is obviously complete crap, you know.
Yeah. We can hear you in high fidelity even.
Oh wow, yeah, like really. All right, so yeah, I mean we have a lot of stuff popping. Now I see on it's just us as participants, but the whole group is in the YouTube, right?
Yeah. We got guys here in the YouTube. We got some folks watching us right now. About half a dozen in here, but I imagine we'll see a few more as things get live. So
awesome. Well, sorry everyone. I mean, most of the beginning is unfiltered between Matt and I, but yeah. For those who aren't aware, my name is Zach D'Amato, one of the co-founders of Niwa. It has been it's going to be an exciting first quarter for us. Obviously, we've been at this 2 years, well, 6 years, but 2 years with the Grow Hub.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we've launched a lot of new features. Just to recap, at the end of the quarter, we got live with our manual mode. We offered the scheduling for ventilation or fan, so you can customize that in your grow recipe, and allowing fan to turn on when your temp and humidity is or out of target, and as you can like send your data to your email. I mean, those are that was a quarter of Q4 new updates.
Yeah, we talked about that.
And so now we have the CO2 sensor. It's already being shipped, right? So it's past production, past testing, Q&A, and all that stuff, or quality control, QC, and it's on its way. So I would say that is gonna come probably mid-March. Is like kind of we're targeting, and that's adaptable. Just so everyone knows, that's adaptable for the model that everyone has. It has all the pre-existing sensors, so it's not like you are upgrading to have this one additional one, but you'll get all the other pre-existing sensors built into it, right? So you're not going to be losing the other 3 sensors when you add it into your Grow Hub.
Yeah, so let's just step it back for a minute. For those not aware, of course, Niwa, the Niwa Grow Hub, if you don't know, it's a great grow room control. I've been running mine for quite a while. Controls all my things. I got a link in a video too if you want to modify your setup to handle things that are a little bit beefier than the Niwa is initially set up for. But beyond that, what these guys have done is they've introduced a new CO2 sensor to go along with all the functionality that it does, where it measures RH, it measures temperature, it measures if you've got light going on in there. Great functionality with all sorts of notifications. But of course, what we've done now is you guys have put together this CO2 sensor to give just another level of monitoring, and well, not necessarily control per se. Or is there control based off some of the CO2 stuff?
Yeah. So when we go live with the software that is, that has the CO2 functionality built in, it will be an additional option in your outlet, right?
Right.
So you will be able to plug into your CO2. Now it's going to be the same capabilities as all the other equipment. It could just turn power on and off, but essentially when you set your settings to what your target CO2 levels, and obviously if it goes above or below, it's going to be the same kind of scenario as a humidifier or with your heater, and it will turn the equipment on and off. So you're going to get the control. It's the same on off function based on your target. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's great. So the sensor isn't quite out yet then. It's available for pre-order coming out here in the next little bit.
Yeah. So we are so right now, obviously it's on our site for pre-order. For those listening and taking the time to listen, we are going to be offering another pre-order discount, right? So, I'll give the inside scoop to those taking the time tonight to talk to us and listen to us. So I was saying about a week, we'll offer another 3-week kind of pre-order discount. So, if you're interested, hold off a little bit, get the inside scoop there. And yeah, we'll start shipping. I mean, it could be a little bit sooner, but we're just going to say mid-March to stick to that, and be conservative, right? But they're en route and they're past production, right? So, yeah, and they're Swiss-made sensors. They're used in like a high-level manufacturing and other facilities. So we try to get the highest level we can, and we know that you spend a lot of money when you set up a CO2 and incorporate into your garden. And so that was, all of our sensors, we try to get, it's going to be affordable, but really reliability is important. If you're going to pay the extra $50 for a good sensor, it's way better than managing your crop where it can go bad, so we don't take any shortcuts there.
Absolutely. So we got a couple questions here from the community. First off, my boy Tim's Crab Shack. Any compatibility with off-brand CO2 sensors, or is it specific to the device that you guys have?
So just like we have with the Grow Hub sensor module now, is that port will be only, you could technically plug something in, but it's going to either damage it or not read it. So no, it's going to be basically our CO2 sensor. It's going to be a bigger one. It's going to be kind of like a triangle. As it had all, like I said, pre-existing sensor in the CO2. So we advise and recommend to only plug in our sensor module, right? Because you may plug it in, it might turn it on, but there's going to be no readings, and it's not going to be
right. Not calibrated. Can't talk in the same language. Will the CO2 sensor be used through an outlet plug specific to the Grow Hub, or is it going to be available through, say, a USB plug on a computer? Can you do monitoring that way?
No, it's gonna. So essentially, it is basically the same exact, imagine this being bigger, a little triangle, like a hexagon, whatever, and it's gonna be the same thing built for the Grow Hub, right? So, nothing has changed except we added a sensor. So same compatibility, same ability, same way you connect it, you put it into your Grow Hub. So we want it to be very universal. So if we ever had another model in the future, all sensors will be compatible for all models, regardless of when you got your Grow Hub or what have you. So that was kind of the intention.
Now, what if I'm an existing Grow Hub user and I just want to get the CO2 sensor? Is that going to be available aftermarket?
Yeah, so right now the pre-orders are, now we had that limited promotion that was like everyone gets a free Grow Hub, and if you pre-order CO2, it's going to be a standalone box, standalone. The word accessory is our team doesn't like as much, but it's basically going to be a standalone. And when we roll out officially for direct orders online, you'll either choose the Grow Hub as is with the existing 3 sensors, the 3 original, or you'll get the CO2 with basically all 4 sensors, and you can then upgrade. And they'll be the same thing when it's in retail, but it's 2 separate boxes. We might do some bundle deals here and there, but for those that are Niwa users for years, I mean, you could just buy the sensor in its own individual box.
Right. So then one sensor per device, still works with everything as before. You can link multiple devices onto your app, monitor multiple spaces, just a matter of getting the sensor and hooking it up.
Yeah, so essentially all the same rules apply, so like, when you're adding, I mean, we're just going to add that capability into the software. So when you're in your recipe, choosing your CO2 levels, when you're looking at your outlet configuration, they'll have a CO2 option, a CO2 device option to sync one of your outlets. And then when you get the sensor, you'll have basically the app is going to have an option to have access to the CO2. And then once you do sync it, they'll open up that part of the software for the users that have the CO2. So try to make it as seamless as possible and pretty linear with all the way you figure to use the Grow Hub in the past. We're really adamant about not changing too much of like the behavior. So just like when you add the ventilation to your recipe, you'll see another thing for the CO2 setting, and so on and so forth. And then obviously the data will be like kind of the same thing as well. So, and I hope that the UX of the data of the stats will evolve in the first quarter, but with the CO2 launch, we'll see how that kind of pans out.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you'll have all these data points. You'll have about 6 at that point. Yeah.
More data is always better.
Yeah. I don't, for the CO2, I mean, we know that it's used a lot. I mean, I don't know. I know that with new growers, it might be a little complicated, because it's how you really dial in. But that's actually a question I'm curious about. Like, in your experience, is it more the experienced growers that use CO2? Is it like certain, climates that it's necessary in? Like, what has been your experience of what people really kind of feel like they need to incorporate that into their garden?
Well, you know what? It was interesting. For me this summer, I started doing some experiments with my grow space. I brought in a dehumidifier, started playing around looking at, can I at least make this like a closed loop system? And I bought in a CO2 monitor that didn't log. That's one of the things that killed me. I returned it after a few days, but it's the idea that I wanted to at least get that baseline. Where do I start, right? Like my atmospheric CO2 was basically where it was. I was kind of expecting around 400 parts per million, but as I got in there, I'd be in there for an hour, you'd see it start creeping up and whatnot. But realistically, I think a lot of people, once they get to that level, that level of being an experienced grower and whatnot, this is really the next step that you want to take. Is if you've got the system, if you've got everything controlled properly, like the Niwa is going to set that up, so you can control your humidity, you can control your temperature, whatnot, if you've got fans, whatever you need to do, and then bring in that CO2 to kick that on when you need it and keep that CO2 maintained at a specific atmospheric level where you've got the ability to push everything that much harder. You can turn your lights up a little bit more, you can run it a little hotter, and then of course the CO2 pumping in there. It's just, again, I think it's that evolution. So seeing how that ties in and works with potential controllers will be really interesting to go here, but very exciting to find out that you guys are doing this, to see this coming.
Now, with this, granted, I have a very moderate or modest grow setup, with at home, and I don't have CO2 running in this particular house. But is there like a big difference when like the drier areas are humid, or it doesn't really matter so much? And does that is it better for one certain phase of the grow period? I'm just kind of curious, like where you see the most kind of benefit or impact.
Well, the thing is, it's when you're reaching the levels of some of these new lights where they're hitting 1,000, 1,200 ppfd, and you can actually then take and push your plants that much harder. That's where you need the CO2 for them to pull in that extra energy and really grow with it, or else your plants are going to suffer. We get a question here. So the CO2 sensor does replace the existing sensor, does it not? You're not going to have 2 sensors?
No. So essentially, if you have the, if you have the Grow Hub model right now, as is anyone who bought it from the beginning, and you buy that sensor, it's going to be compatible. So just basically, once we start shipping the CO2, we'll be releasing a new software update. We'll have that ability to the CO2. And so you'll essentially take out your old sensor module, plug that new one in, and then you'll calibrate it and get the access to the other CO2 settings and And then if you obviously just want to monitor, then just monitor as is, or going to monitor and control, then obviously you will choose one of your outlets to be your CO2 device or equipment. Yeah. So
Right
yeah,
on,
it's compatible across the board. Oh, sorry, I have two kids trying to knock on the door and the door's closed.
Yeah. So the other question then, limitations on size. Like I run a bigger space than most. What have you guys kind of tested this out at? Is there anything we should be concerned about? I would imagine it would just react a little bit slower to changes in the room in a bigger space.
Yeah, I'll be honest. We've done a lot of the like moderate testing, and we are going to be really keeping our eye and doing a lot of like kind of surveys in the beginning for getting that feedback from growers and like what the limitations are. Now, for the equipment would be the most interesting thing. I feel like monitoring is not going to be so problematic, right? Because everyone's going to kind of gauge their PPM and what they need. But as far as the equipment, I'm not familiar like we experienced with AC equipment, right? That had a big inrush current, started blowing fuses. It was something that we didn't realize that on the devices, the inrush current isn't the same as the startup inrush current, which wasn't advertised. And that had been like probably 75% of our fuses that were damaged were from AC usage. So that's the one thing I'm curious about the equipment. But obviously we a lot of ones in the market, just like any other piece of equipment that will be so problematic. So that's kind of where we'll be keeping our eye on that first like month or so with all of the growers. I would say from the accuracy, it's really good. And then from the equipment, we see a lot of people that may just be doing monitoring. But I guess we'll learn once we roll it out there.
Because yeah, for sure.
Obviously the tanks, the tanks have their own, kind of timers, and they have their own kind of in-house equipment. So we're just gonna have to kind of learn from everyone, just like we do with every new release.
Well, what I like is it kind of leapfrogs over some of these more expensive systems. I'll be frank, I've shopped around. I've looked at some like these Trollmaster control setups. Yeah, they're expensive, especially for the home grower.
Yeah.
What I like about this type of thing is it allows me to take a step further. I mean, as I mentioned at the start there, we did that video where I added in a relay, interfaced a relay, and so I can control a 4,000 watt heater and my AC system and a bunch of other stuff with my Niwa. Very, very simple. So it removes the need for buying that more expensive controller. I can probably hook up a set of relays and just turn a tank on and off to play with CO2 that way. I mean, this is DIY stuff. Guys like myself that really dig getting into, because you guys really allow us to bypass these really expensive systems. And then, of course, with the all-in-one package you get with the Niwa, you can take it a step further.
Yeah, some of those, when we first did our like kind of market research, didn't realize some of those standalone CO2 sensors, were in the 300 to 400 range.
Oh, yeah.
Granted, I don't know if it was autopilot. And we've heard good things, and, you pay for what you get. If you get, expensive things, it's gonna hope you expect it to be really durable, and we've heard good things and a lot of good reviews, but that's a big commitment. So our goal is to like offer we'll probably migrate to a bundle situation where it'll be pretty affordable. You get the 4 controls and you'll get all the 4 sensors. We're gonna kind of determine as we roll out, but I expect it to be staying really affordable for the combo, for the growers in the future. So.
And that's where it matters, because I think what we're starting to see now is that transition from these companies that were working in a commercial environment, saw the ability to move into a little bit of more of the prosumer, but they're still keeping these prices extremely high. So I feel that for what you guys are bringing to the table, with what you're offering for all the different control and monitoring, I mean, some of those other guys out there, they'll charge more than what you guys, and they're only doing monitoring. So it's definitely good value to the table.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. At the end of the day, from the days that we were growing, food in our small little garden is to make growing, smarter, and for those to kind of like take the stress away. But it just can't be so crazy. You're dropping, 800 to automate your garden. Then you got all your nutrients or 10. 2,000 is a lot to invest for anyone, especially for any home grower. No matter like if your, real job is really high paying, it's still a lot to drop down. And automation should be simple. It shouldn't, it's relays, it's, fuses, and obviously the software is where a lot of the investment goes towards. So, our goal is to, as we add more features and more accessories and stuff, that is to always kind of maintain as low as we can be, and where it's going to be competitive, right? Because if you get out of the box, say, 450 to get the CO2 control, all four sensors and four controllers and the software, it's a pretty good value. Although the number seems high in the beginning, but we've done the exercise ourselves. If you piecemeal everything together, you're not so far away,
But you're gonna spend more, the same, if not more, but then you're also not getting that cohesion of that single app controlling all of the things. So, or you're getting something that's coming from overseas where the app is poorly written, hard to understand, doesn't work very well. I've had that experience myself. So I definitely think you guys are bringing a AAA product in that regard. Question from our good friend Norma G, who seems to be on everybody's channel all the time. We love you, Norma. UK and Europe, are we going to see any traction there anytime soon?
So, the one thing, first of all, we have entity in Spain and US because that's what the origin of Niwa was. But I would say hopefully we can start getting some traction towards the mid-year, end of the year. I know with Germany coming on board, it's going to start pulling some of these growers in. We're definitely working with distributors. I'll be very transparent, like as I always am, like there's multiple types of plugs for the EU market. Of course, we can specifically go to UK or Spain and focus on that. That's the only thing that creates a little bit of a hurdle. It's very much our goal as we expand distribution in the US and Canada is to hit Europe. We've distributed in Europe before with our first Niwa 1 product. So I don't want to say any guarantees. We are speaking to distributors. We're in talks with one fairly large one who's got 5 DCs in Europe. And so our we hope to get some information and some data. It's all about getting that demand. We're always going to invest if it makes sense, right? And I know we get a lot of people asking. I think as the EU starts creating more, of course, there's always the black market, right? That's existed for a century, but once that starts to change and Germany kind of like starting to tip the scale there, you're going to see the investment, which is pulling in more products, distribution, more innovation into the home grower. Home growers exist, right? But for some reason, like the distributors or the buyers, consumers, they always have a little of a hurdle when the legalities are not open. Just like here in the States. New York and Jersey and Philadelphia were on the bottom of Niwa sales, and then they changed their laws, and boom. They're like Virginia, New York. Yeah, it goes the other way. So that's just kind of like we have to play with that market. We really want to. We get inquiries. Obviously, of course, as an entrepreneur, I'd love to. But we're kind of I think Germany will start opening up, and we're talking to distributors right now.
Right. So, technical question. If you don't have the answer, don't worry about it. We can always throw it in the comments after. Switch mode power supply, will it operate 120, 220?
Can you ask that question again?
Is it a switch mode power supply that will operate at 120 and 220? So it's just a matter of getting it over there and having the right plugs for it. And again, if this is too technical.
No. So the current model can. So what happens? Right. So if you plug this current Niwa model you have a converter and you plug it into a wall where the origin power is 240, the outlets will produce 240, but then you need to have another converter going into each of the 4 outlets. You'll need 5 converters, right? So that's like the one part of it. So it's really just the plugs. The inside, we've already built it for that. But we don't want to sell something if you have to get 5 additional accessories.
Right.
So it's actually pretty close, to be honest, from a product development perspective. It can, like, we've had guys buy an Amazon and then have their parents or their friends ship it to them in the EU and then get 5 converters and from the UK, send me photos. I'm like, well, they did that way. I can't control their family in the US shipping them the unit and they get 5 converters and they get it working. Like that's obviously a special case.
Yeah,
our product is pretty close. If there's demand, it's not going to be a heavy lift to get it up and running there.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, a little bit of regulatory juggling, but that's always another story. So,
we've, like I said, we're working to see about a model being ETL certified and
nice
and improving the model and stuff like that. So it's something that is par for the course. Like I said, the market is there. It's worth all that regulatory hurdles.
Well, and key point too. like you guys are going through, you're doing the testing, you're passing the regulatory, you're making sure that the product's going to be safe for what people are using it for. And, if you're taking and buying some of these solutions from overseas, again, you're going to be getting what you're going to be getting. You don't know how safe it is for that matter. So, I mean, I always preach regulatory, and buy something that's got that stamp on it. So, you're getting safe.
Yeah. I mean, it's always, obviously sometimes the dollars are high to do that, but it's just of course of doing business and making sure your stuff is safe because, in this day and age of electronics, like we have a really good manufacturing partner. We've worked them for, 3-4 years now, but it's always good to keep pushing that limit, right? Because you are dealing with electricity and dealing with people who are pushing power and sometimes not home. So you have a responsibility, and a lot of those grow tents have a lot of cords and wires going through it.
100%. Well, get them up off the ground. So
yeah,
So I guess any other big things coming up here into the next couple months? You guys going to be out some trade shows, anywhere people can find you if they want to talk to you?
Yeah, so so we're gonna be, obviously CO2 is a big thing. We're investigating enhancement of our current grow hub model. There's no timetable on that, and we're launching with Hydrofarm as a distributor. So I know that doesn't really matter for the end consumer, but we're definitely going to be in a lot more stores, and we're going to be hopefully hitting more local grow kind of like events and stuff. That will pull us into a lot more, right? Obviously, I bounce between Tampa and Chicago, so I usually go to the events in those cities. But I hope to be me and another team member to be on the road as we kind of launch with them and go visit all the new markets and be on the road. I kind of missed that a little bit, so we'll definitely be posting when we're in those local areas. And yeah, so that's kind of like the first quarter. That's the big focus. And then once we take the CO2 and put it live, we'll put another review of new features of the software and see if we can kind of keep tweaking things. So definitely we're looking for the community to find out how we can improve or enhance certain aspects, which we already kind of have an idea of. I know that people want to get like watering down to 15-second or second intervals. So that will be definitely one that we'll be discussing, or I'll be pushing, into the new development after the CO2 is released.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see a little bit more refinement in some of the controls of the app and stuff because I like to tweak. But with what it does right now, I'm happy with it. So it's fantastic. Any other questions from the peanut gallery there, especially Tim? But I'm not going to ask the one that you asked. So something back here. Yeah, he's a bit of a strange guy.
Back here, I'm actually for Italian Greek. I'm not that hairy. So.
There you go, folks. More than you wanted to know about
here.
Zach, but yeah, it's all up.
It's all in my head. I was just lucky. My cousin's not so much. Anyway, so what they actually have you used the manual control aspect of the?
I haven't really played around with it too much. I've tweaked with it a little bit and stuff when I was having some problems there a little while ago. But for the most part, I mean, I set it and forget it. It's rare for the notifications to even go off, and if it does, then I've actually got a problem. That actually happened once not too long ago, so it saved my butt.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I mean, that's doing what we're supposed to do. So it's like just was curious, right? Well, listen, Matt, as always, we'll keep turning and burning, and we with the CO2's release, we'll have to do a big feedback on the software, find out what holes we can uncover. Right now, it's going to be focused on that for the next couple of months. Because once it's live, there's going to be a lot of kind of keep an eye on how people operate with that. Because it's kind of a big upgrade. Because it's not only just firmware and software; it's also the hardware. So
always a challenge. Well, Zach, absolutely appreciate you stopping by the show. Definitely a good time. Totally enjoyed chatting with you. So let us know. We'll let the community know. And guys, head over to the Niwa website there. There's links down below again. I believe you said we're doing a coupon here too, aren't we, for the next week? Yeah,
Photo Syntech. Just so right now, obviously the coupon is till the end of and Sunday midnight, I believe.
Yep.
Or whatever date that is. Was it 15?
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, 15. So just like Photo Syntech, I mean, please. You get a little extra 10% on there. So
a little extra on top, guys. Well, there you go. Zach from Niwa stopping by, bringing good news. Absolutely appreciate it, sir. And like I said, you let us know when things change, and we'll let everybody else know.
All right. Have a good day. Thank you.
All right. Take it easy, Zach.
Bye-bye.
And there you go. So I see a few folks in the chat that I recognize. Mr. Westport, good to see you, brother. Timothy's Crab Shack, Matt Hempgod. How's everybody doing? And then, yeah, there you go. It's great to see what they've got coming up here. I'm excited for it. I'm hoping maybe Zach will send me one to test out so I can review it for you folks, and we'll see how that goes. But always exciting times here. Otherwise, what's going on? In-house Genetics and I are launching a new show. It's called Higher Medicine. Would you like to be on it? All you have to do is have a tale of how cannabis helps save you with some sort of medical issue. Did it change your life? Did you discover this wonderful plant through a medical problem? If you did, we want to talk to you. So more on that is coming too. Also looking at bringing some new content, very much centered around hash and the production of. Are you a big hash maker? Do you want to come talk with me? Let me know. Love to have you on the show because we're going to be doing something else here new very, very soon. Tim's sitting the Nukin. Nukin is delicious. I've got myself a little, what is this here? This is some Kush mints. Fantastic stuff. So guys, lots of stuff coming up here. One thing that you're not going to be seeing much of here going forward though is plants. I'm going to do some occasional ones here, but for the most part, it's not worth it anymore for me to make the content showing the plants because YouTube won't let me show it. So I'm going to come up with some creative new ways to educate and inform. We got a KNF thing that I'm thinking about doing too, because I know you guys definitely like that stuff. So certainly if you're not on the Discord, link down below, come and join us. It's always a good time over there. If it's not working forever, just throw a link up. It's not working, I'll refresh that. But definitely want you guys over there because we got lots of learning, lots of fun, lots of going on. And on occasional, talk about our changing bodies. That being said, I am Matt. This is Photosynthetic, first live 2023. Niwa, good times. Thanks for stopping by.